Hey, what's up everybody? It's me, Keeks, back with another brand new video. And in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing episode 9 of the new Goosebumps series, Night of the Living Dummy Part 2. So, we have finally reached the penultimate episode of the new Goosebumps series. Night of the Living Dummy Part 2, episode 9. To be honest here, not one of my favorite episodes. This one, really, the stuff with the kids really just felt like filler. Um, they're going off on a road trip to Seattle um, with Margot's mom, and Margot's thinking about moving there, and that's putting like tension between her and Lucas, who like doesn't even want to go on this trip. Sort of just going to get away from the weekend and just like be normal after everything that's happened. The parents are getting back, to like things being normal, and just that whole side of it really just felt like filler. And I was disappointed because this episode was called Night of the Living Dummy. I was expecting to at least like Night of the Living Dummy Part 2, sorry. I was expecting it to be more like focused on Slappy, and we didn't get anything till like the very end of the episode. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been enjoying the new Goosebumps series. I think they took it in a little interesting direction. The only thing is, um, a lot of the complaints have been about like the character side of things, and I've been enjoying that they focus on the characters. I've been enjoying the little relationship drama that's been going on. That's in almost like every kind of like teen series, so that was to be expected. But I do feel like they could have balanced um, that and the Goosebumps, scary monsters, scary artifacts side of things. I think one of the main problems is that like none of the um none of the haunted objects really got a major focus on in their episodes. Um, like the Say Cheese and Die episode, the haunted camera was only part of like the last like 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes is setting everything up. The haunted mask, you know, could have been like more focus on that and like Isabella while also like moving towards like the main plot points and everything. Um, the 9/11 Dummy episode, the first one, episode 6, really good episode. Really enjoyed it. We got backstory on Slappy, and I was kind of like expecting that to happen with this episode, or at least to seem a little more. But really, mostly this episode was about Nathan Brad, Mr. Brad, right, the new English teacher, the one who's been possessed by Harold this whole time. So he decides that like he's gonna write a book. We have a little flashback um to like a couple months before he moved in, where he's taking care of his deceased grandma's dog Fifi. That's right. This is where we're introduced to Fifi, and uh he's like kind of like down on his luck. He's not paying his rent. He's really begging for like another month. Make the money, and then like a real estate agent shows up. You know, tells him he inherited this house and everything, right? Unfortunately, is Fifi dies. She got hit by a truck, sadly, and this is where we see him with Port Lawrence, and then we kind of get like so not like really like a recap of all the events that happened, but like it speeds through like all the events until like we see him coming back home, and he decides he's gonna write a book, and they show like there's a scene where like he's writing the end of this book. I don't remember if they showed like how long has passed, since like episode 8 and everything. But they show him at the end of this book, and he's like, of course, he's writing it as fiction because nobody would believe any of this is true. And he changes like all the names, and some of them are kind of like, okay, so he changes Isaiah's name to Isaac and makes him a baseball player in his book. And I think he changes Ben's name to Ken. Um, so names. Oh, best Goosebumps reference. He changes Slappy's name to Snappy in the book he's writing, and I just found that so hilarious because in the book I Am Slappy's Evil Twin, Slappy has a twin named Snappy. So I thought that was a pretty cool Goosebumps reference. Um, but then he's like changing names to things that are just like, that's so terrible and so cheesy. Like he changes Isabella's name to Lizabetta, and he changes Nora's name to Mora. So like, I don't know how good of a writer he is, but he is not. He's not good on the naming side of things, right? So he sends it off to a publisher from a scholarly press, so there's a bit of like meta thing going on there. But they want him to write a new ending. They want him to, they want him to make a series. So he's trying to figure out this new ending, and he ends up going dig up Slappy. And another funny thing is like in the scene where he's driving his car, he's listening to like a podcast or like some kind of like interview um with that R.L. Stein is on. So R.L. Stein has like a little audio cameo and here, a little voice cameo and a picture cameo because you see a picture of his face on the thumbnail on Brat's phone. So that was pretty cool. Um, so does that mean the Goosebump books exist in this universe, or is like in this universe maybe like this R.L. Stein just writes maybe he just writes us regular horror novels like maybe Fear Street is a thing. I don't know. Um. So yeah, he goes. So yeah, Nathan Brad he goes and he gets Slappy and brings him back home. Puts him together. No, well, that's a put together. He says the chant, the spell, and then like at first nothing happens. Of course, when he's walking away, all Slappy's body parts are just like sliding across the floor by themselves, and just like he puts himself back together. And Slappy knows that he's looking for an ending to his new book, and then Fifi comes back to life. So yeah, so Mr. Brad and Fifi they go off into the forest and they dig up Condu's coffin, which is for some reason is in Port Lawrence. No explanation to how it got there. Um, I guess one theory could be that like Ephraim he brought it with him when he moved to Port Lawrence and just buried it somewhere where he hoped nobody would be able to find it. And well, during this also Fifi reveals her little vampire fangs. There's like no explanations like why she's a vampire. She just is. And so yeah, so Slappy's getting Nathan to read the spell that Ephraim, started to read but finished. And Nathan sees the same vision of that burning tower. And he's like, was that the ending? Is that the ending to my book? And Slappy just edging him on to keep reading. So he finished the spell, and we see Slappy slump over the floor while that smoke and brimstone dust cloud uh, leaves Slappy's body and goes into the coffin. And we see Kandu's body rise up, and it's all like decayed. They show its hand all decayed, but like it like the flesh grows back. It wasn't like graphic or anything. Um, and right about the time Ben shows up, and Ben's the only one who knew that Nathan was writing the book, and he's like, "Hey, and I talk to you about the book," and he sees Condu, he sees Slappy slumped over. Condu uses the spell to turn Ben into a dummy and walks out the house, and that's pretty much where it ends. On a cliffhanger. As I said before, like pretty much like that. I think they should have taken that like Nathan, Mr. Brat's storyline in this episode and kind of expanded on it. Um, have Slappy in there early in the episode. I think one of the like I said, I think one of the major problems with the series is that they wanted to use Slappy as the main villain, um, but it seems like they were hesitant to, just because he's been such like he was the main villain in the first two movies. Um, he's a fan favorite character. He's so popular. He's really become the Goosebumps mascot, like really over the like 2010s and everything. Um, so they want to do something different. They want to use him as a villain, but because he's been used so much, they want to do something different, and they kind of like really wrote themselves into like a weird spot. If you're gonna use Slappy as the villain, just go all in. Make him the villain. Now, this whole Condu thing, I'll be honest, I kind of had a feeling we were gonna be seeing him. I wasn't sure how, but I felt like when we saw his coffin and everything in episode 6, and we didn't see they didn't show his body or anything. It felt like what they call like a smoking gun. And if there's somebody out there who doesn't know what a smoking gun is, basically it's a kind of like a plot device, sort of like in a movie. It could be like a movie, television show, a book, I guess too. Where like if ever a gun shows up, let's say a gun shows up in Act One, right? At some point, that gun has to go off in Act Three. You know, you show the gun, and the audience expects it to like, go off and like, towards the end of the movie or whatever. So yeah, I was kind of getting that feeling from the whole Condu thing. Like we saw his coffin, they showed the name. If it wasn't anything important, I don't think they would have showed the name and all that. And then like another thing is like, is Slappy possessing Condu's body, or was Condu's spirit in Slappy this whole time, like some like Charles Lee Ray, Chucky possession type of thing going on? Um, we don't know. It's not explained. They really could have done a lot with this episode, to explain some things. Maybe we'll get some explanation in episode 10. And a lot of people worried about episode 10 because it's called Welcome to Horrorland. Are we actually getting Horrorland? Or is that just like, something where it's like, hey, there's really bad, horrible things happening in Port Lawrence. It's a horror land. It's not the horror land, but it's a land of horrors. Like where that's gonna go. I'm hoping we are gonna get horror land. Um, I feel like that would be horrible if they named it that and just didn't give us anything. But yeah, so hopefully the showrunners are smart and they actually give us actual horror land, and that could be hopefully a potential setup for like a season two. Because I would love to see them in season two, but I really hope they kind of learn from their lesson that they need to learn how to balance the relationship drama with the scary and spooky horror elements, and give some of the goosebumps like artifacts, like give them their due, like let them be the focus of like the whole episode. They all, well, not, give them the majority of the episode. Let the focus be on like the goosebumps horror. Like if you do let's say you do like the werewolf of Fever Swamp, okay? I don't want like three scenes, you know, of like the werewolf in like the whole episode, and then all the rest is just uh Isaiah, Mario, and Lucas and Isabella dealing with the relationship drama. You know, if you're gonna do like if you're going to the relationships, give James his due too. Let him get his man. Um, but yeah, so like this episode wasn't really one of my favorites. Most because like they could have done so much more with Slappy. I really felt like we were gonna get more backstory. I thought maybe we would even see like his origin, his creation, but none of that happened. Ending was cool, but they could just done a whole lot more. And like I said, nothing really much happened with the kids. They go to Washington. Not Washington. They go to Seattle. Well, yeah, Seattle. They go to Seattle in Washington because they live in Washington. Got my brain mixed up there for a second. And they basically the whole time like with them, Lucas is just like, I don't want to even be here. I want to be home with poor Lawrence, and everything. Also, Lucas's mom and Margot's dad got engaged, so that's the thing. And and now Margot's dad knows everything that was going on, and just like accepts, has no questions. Like, if somebody was like, if I was dating somebody and they told me they had been chased by worm monsters, um, there were kids being haunted by cameras, masks, an evil dummy, um, I would have been like, what are you smoking on? And can I have some? Like, what the hell? You know? But he's fine with everything. He knows everything that's going on. And he's just like, okay, well, I'm glad you told me. Oh, we can now move on with our relationship. And so that was a bit silly. But anyways, yeah. Like I said, the kid side of things was more filler. The Brad side of things, they could have done a lot more and made that more of a focus um in the episode. But anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. No, I didn't really speak much on the episode. Just personally, it wasn't one of my favorites. And anyways, guys, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Drop a like, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the episode. What could have made it better. And I will see you all in the next one. Love you guys.